Θεοφιλέστατε, εξοχότατε Ύπατε Αρμοστή της Κυπριακής Δημοκρατίας, κύριε Ανδρέα Κακουρή, εκλεκτοί προσκεκλημένοι, αγαπητοί φίλοι. Αισθανόμαστε όλοι χαρά και περηφάνεια γιατί εισηγητής στην απόψινή διάλεξη του 17ου κύκλου διαλέξεων του Ελεύθερου Πανεπιστημίου, που για 17 συνεχή χρόνια συνδιοργανώνουν για την Ομογένεια του Λονδίνου το Πανεπιστήμιο Κύπρου και η Ελληνική Κυπριακή Αδελφότητα. Ευχαριστούμε θερμά τον Ύπατο Αρμοστή, γέννημα και θρέμμα της παροικίας μας, που δέχθηκε την πρόσκλησή μας για να μιλήσει απόψε. Ευχαριστούμε επίσης όλους εσάς. Γνωρίζουμε όλοι ότι η Κύπρος αφέντες άλλαξε πολλούς, αλλά όχι την καρδιά της. Ύστερα από αιώνες σκλαβιάς πήραμε το 1960 την κολοβωμένη ανεξαρτησία μας. Δυστυχώς όμως ο κακός γείτονας, ο αλαζόνας γείτονας, ο υπερόπτης γείτονας έχει επεκτατικά και διχοτομικά σχέδια για την Κύπρο. Είμαστε όμως συνηθισμένοι και υποχρεωμένοι να αντέχουμε τις εθνικές δοκιμασίες, να παλεύουμε για την εθνική μας επιβίωση και να αντιμετωπίζουμε αποτελεσματικά τις επιβουλές, τους εκβιασμούς και τις προκλήσεις των καιρών. Να οικοδομούμε με υπομονή και σταθερότητα το μέλλον. Αποδείξαμε ότι μπορούμε σαν Κυπριακός λαός και γι' αυτό πρέπει να είμαστε αισιόδοξοι για το μέλλον της μικρής και αγαπημένης μας πατρίδας, της Κυπριακής Δημοκρατίας. Και τώρα, αφού μεταφέρω τις απολογίες του Προέδρου της Οργανωτικής μας Επιτροπής Νίνου Κουμέτσου, που λόγω απρόπτου κολλήματος δεν μπορεί να βρίσκεται απόψε μαζί μας, παρακαλώ το Θεοφιλέστατο Επίσκοπο Τροπέου, κύριο Αθανάσιο, για το χαιρετισμό του.
Εξοχότατε κύριε Ύπατε Αρμοστά της Κύπρου και αγαπητοί αδελφοί, θα σχολιάσω το πρώτο που είπε ο Ύπατος, ότι είναι η δεύτερη φορά που συναντιόμαστε αυτή την εβδομάδα. Και στη συνέχεια θέλω να τον καλωσορίσω εκ μέρους του Σεβασμιωτάτου Αρχιεπισκόπου Θειατήρων κυρίου Νικήτα, καθώς και του Αρχιεπισκόπου Γρηγορίου, αλλά και προσωπικά. Είναι ιδιαίτερη χαρά που έχουμε ένα, θα έλεγα, ομογενή, ο οποίος ανήρθε στο ύπατο αυτό αξίωμα και έτσι με τον παλμό που νιώθει όλους εμάς που ζούμε στο εξωτερικό, καθώς και τους εντός της Κύπρου, μεταφέρει τα μηνύματα, την ανάγκη, την ελπίδα, την αισιοδοξία και το δίκαιό μας. Στη συνέχεια θέλω να επενέσω το Πανεπιστήμιο και την Εθνική εδώ Ομοσπονδία και την Κυπριακή Αδελφότητα για το έργο το οποίο επιτελούν. Επιβάλλεται να ασχολούμεθα και με πνευματικά ζητήματα και να ανανεώνουμε αυτά με τα οποία έχουμε αρκετοί μεγαλώσει και κουβαλήσει μαζί μας. Το θέμα απόψε είναι ιδιαίτερα ενδιαφέρον, μας καίει όλους, μας πονάει, μας νοιάζει, αλλά να έχουμε αισιοδοξία. Μπορεί να υπάρχουν οι ισχυροί του κόσμου τούτου, αλλά είμεθα κι εμείς στην εγκάλη του Θεού. Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Now I'll call on the President of NEPOMAC UK, Mr. Konstantinos Alexandrou, to give us his address.
Good evening, Your Excellency, distinguished guests, and fellow compatriots. It is a pleasure to share this podium with His Excellency, the High Commissioner of Cyprus in the UK, Mr. Andreas Kakouris, to celebrate the 59th anniversary of the Republic of Cyprus. I've got to know the High Commissioner very well over the last couple of months, Since his appointment, he has expressed a real passion to promote young Cypriots in the UK, and we are very much looking forward to working with His Excellency and his team. I sincerely believe that it is vital to engage and inform young Cypriots about the history and current affairs in Cyprus. And it is why we, as Nepomat UK, are honoured to have this opportunity to collaborate on such events with the Greek Cypriot Brotherhood. Despite the severe challenges faced by the Republic of Cyprus over the last 59 years, our island and its people have always managed to persevere and go from strength to strength. Of course, the biggest challenge faced by Cyprus is the ongoing Turkish occupation as a result of their invasion in 1974. For many young people who live overseas, it can be really confusing and frustrating to understand why, after more than 45 years, we have not reached a solution. And this, in turn, can cause people to become disillusioned and detached from the issue and the situation. Only by making these people, young people, understand the intricacies, the different driving factors of each party involved in the Cyprus issue, can we possibly make them understand why we are still in this position, but more importantly, why we need to continue to push for a solution and to remove foreign troops from our island. From a very young age, I was taken to the checkpoint in Nεια to witness that poignant view of the coastline of Varosha. It seems alien and surreal that a forbidden ghost town like this can exist in a modern European, first world European nation. This piqued my interest in the issue. And throughout my childhood and teenage years, I sought to find out more about Cyprus's history through literature, online resources, and simply asking my relatives and families of their accounts. This interest developed into a feeling of burning injustice and a keen desire to find a solution. And this is what has driven me to get involved in Nepomat UK and now leader as its president. And that is why it is essential that we continue to impassion young Cypriots, like I was, about the Cyprus issue. And this will ultimately translate into more people putting pressure on our governments and the international community. And in particular, young Cypriots, or young people in general, are attuned to social media and how we can use social media to spread the word of thousands of people with just a few simple taps on our mobile devices. We're on them anyway, let's put it to some use. For example, Nepomat UK assisted the National Federation in their campaign for Hands Off Cyprus. We reached more than 10,000 people across the UK. This proves how important it is to utilise social media in this day and age, and how we can use this to also empower young Cypriots. And it is through the passion, dedication, and determination of our members that we are inspired to fight tirelessly and bring justice to the people of Cyprus. I'd like to thank each and every Nepomat member for their time, effort, and love for Cyprus, and acknowledge that without them, Nepomat UK and the National Federation would not be able to continue their efforts to work towards a free, united Cyprus. You can be assured of Nepomat UK's strong presence outside the Turkish embassy on the 15th of November to demonstrate against the unilateral declaration of independence of the occupied northern part of Cyprus by Turkey. Whilst the history of Cyprus was written by generations before us, inevitably, the Cypriot youth of today will become the torchbearers of our cause tomorrow. And as NEPAMAT UK, we will ensure that the future generations are well equipped to write this next chapter. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of your evening.
I call upon the President of the National Federation of Cypriots, Christos Karaolis, to give us his address.
Right, Reverend Damianos, my good friend, Your Excellency, the High Commissioner of Cyprus, Mr. Mayor, my good friend, the President of the Brotherhood, our host for this evening, my good friends, the President of BOMAC, NEBOMAC, and NEBOMAC UK, honourable members of the High Commission of the Republic of Cyprus, members of the Federation's Executive and Secretariat, representatives of the Federation member associations, the Brotherhood and NEBOMAC UK, dear compatriots. It is with a sense of pleasure and pride that tonight's event commemorates the anniversary of the establishment of the Republic of Cyprus 59 years ago. Despite the Turkish invasion that shortly followed independence in 1960, the granting of independence remains the biggest achievement of the Cypriot people in the long history of the island. It is therefore only right that today we remember and honour all those who sacrificed their lives for the existence of the Republic of Cyprus. Whether their sacrifice was those who fought for independence in the Olga struggle of 55 to 59, or those who defended Cyprus's sovereignty after independence against the Turkish Cypriot rebellion of 63-64, the Greek junta Olga Vida coup of July 74, or the horrific Turkish invasion of 1974, the consequences of which we are still living through today in the form of the continued occupation. We are here tonight to hear from His Excellency the High Commissioner about Cyprus's journey as a republic, from achieving independence in 1960 to more recent successes such as the accession to the European Union in 2004. And despite several catastrophic periods in Cyprus's relatively brief history as a republic, Cypriots have shown that they persevere, that they're passionate and that they're determined to thrive as a country and as an economy. And today, the Republic of Cyprus plays a crucial role in the European Union, the Commonwealth, the Eastern Mediterranean region, with a growing number of bilateral and trilateral initiatives and cooperation with countries across the region that the High Commissioner will say more about later. Over the years, our diaspora has also played a crucial role as, dare I say it, local ambassadors to showcase the achievements, struggles, and the desire and determination to end the Turkish occupation and reunite Cyprus. Since its establishment, the National Federation of Cypriots in the UK, as the representative body of our community, has supported the government of Cyprus in its mission to reunite our divided island. But at the same time, it has coordinated efforts of the Cypriot community in the UK, who throughout the years have built another Cyprus outside the island. And I'm proud that our diaspora is now a living bridge between the UK and Cyprus and gives back and contributes. Indeed, we have seen UK Cypriots excel across all sectors and professions, proudly representing Cyprus and their roots, despite being born in the UK. Particularly in sports, we have seen a large number of our community play for the Cyprus football and rugby teams, and now we are both delighted and proud that UK Cypriot athletes will hopefully be representing Cyprus at the 2020 Olympics in Tokyo. Through the Adopt an Athlete initiative of the Cyprus Olympic Committee, the Federation is proud to be sponsoring 2 UK Cypriot athletes who will be competing for Cyprus next year. One is Tom Nicolaou, who lives in Essex and will be competing for gymnastics. The other is Alex Tofalidis, who lives in London and will be competing in fencing and is here with us tonight. Alex. Well, given Alex is here, I would like to ask him to say a few words before I continue.
Thank you very much, Christos, for the invitation this evening. And I think, first of all, I want to thank the National Federation of Cypriots in the UK for their generous grant, which I will put to use for my training and competitions. And I hope to be the first Cypriot fencer in the Olympic Games in Tokyo. Yes, hopefully. There's Sivaskia. Yeah, yes. I would like to congratulate High Commissioner Kakouris on his new position, and I wish him the best of luck in promoting the interests of Cyprus in the UK. And finally, I don't think I've ever been here before, but it's really amazing to see how much work is done behind the scenes, lobbying for Cyprus and putting Cypriot interests first. So I look forward to hearing the speech, and thank you very much for all the work you do and the community. So thank you.
So turning now to our guest speaker for tonight, we're delighted to welcome the new High Commissioner for Cyprus, Mr. Andreas Κακουρής, who was born and raised in our community. Now, prior to his appointment as High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, His Excellency was the Director of the Diplomatic Office of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He was Director of several divisions at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, including the Middle East and Africa Division and the Cyprus question. And he served as Ambassador to Ireland, the Kingdom of Sweden, the United States, and had parallel accreditation as High Commissioner to Canada. In just 7 weeks, the Cypriot diaspora of the United Kingdom has shown him love, appreciation, and a warm embrace. And we look forward to continuing the close and fruitful cooperation with him and his team at the home of Cyprus to represent the best interests of our compatriots both in Cyprus and the UK. Now more than ever, Cyprus needs a strong diaspora voice to counter Turkish propaganda, to keep the ongoing illegal occupation of our homeland and inability of refugees to return to their homes high on the political agenda, and to challenge the illegal incursions by Turkey into the Republic of Cyprus' exclusive economic zone. And in that vein, as Konstantino mentioned, on the 15th of November, the Federation will be holding its annual demonstration outside the Turkish embassy at 6 p.m. to mark the illegal anniversary, the black anniversary of the illegal UDI. So please do attend so that we can make our community's voice heard loud and clear, especially given what Turkey is now doing in northern Syria and the wider region. A strong presence is all the more important. Ladies and gentlemen, despite the challenges, the Republic of Cyprus has thrived over the last 59 years, and I'm confident that with our collective support, it will continue to do so. Thank you very much.
Η προσφορά της Εθνικής Κυπριακής Ομοσπονδίας στον Αλέξανδρο Τσοφαλίδη, συγκρινόμενη με τα οικονομικά της, είναι πράγματι γενναιόδορη, αλλά για να πούμε την πραγματικότητα είναι μικρή. Για να πάει ένας στο Τόκιο για τις προπονήσεις, για τα ταξίδια και όλα αυτά χρειάζονται πάρα πολλά λεφτά. Έτσι παρακαλώ, εάν υπάρχουν Κύπροι που θέλουν να προσφέρουν για τους αθλητές μας που θα λάβουν μέρος στους Ολυμπιακούς του Τόκιο, να έρθουν σε επαφή με οποιοδήποτε μέρος της Ομοσπονδίας και να τους φέρουμε σε επαφή με την Ολυμπιακή Επιτροπή της Κύπρου για να βοηθήσουν. Παρακαλώ να μεταφέρετε αυτά τα λόγια σε φίλους και γνωστούς που ίσως ενδιαφερθούν για να ενισχύσουμε την Ολυμπιακή μας ομάδα. Σας ευχαριστώ. Και τώρα παρακαλώ τον ύπατο μας Αρμοστή, που όπως είπα γεννήθηκε και μεγάλωσε στην παροικία μας και φοιτησε στα ελληνικά μας σχολεία, να μας μιλήσει απόψε για την ανεξαρτησία της Κυπριακής Δημοκρατίας. Ο κύριος Ανδρέας Κακουρής.
Right Reverend Bishop Athanasios of Trebea, Reverend Damianos, President of the Brotherhood, Presidents of POMAC, the National Federation of Cypriots, NEPOMAC, and Nepomac UK, members of the Federation Executive and Secretariat, a special welcome to the Mayor of Garavas and his wife, Mr. Haji Stefanu, dear compatriots, friends, relatives. I think I've covered everybody. That's me in trouble before I've even started the speech. It can only get better from here. Firstly, let me thank the co-organisers for tonight's event and for inviting me here, and a special thanks to one of my Greek teachers, Mr. Karaulis. It really is surreal to be standing here in front of all of you, to have been born and raised in this country, to have known many of you growing up, and to have received the warmth that each and every one of you has given me, my wife and my family since arriving here. It fills my heart with pride. Pride and honour to be serving this community, and pride and honour to be serving the country of our roots, the country of my parents, a country that is so dear to each and every one of us. And let me just say that I'm here to serve the community and to work with you, each and every one of you, to work together towards influencing UK policy on Cyprus. And with the leadership of the Federation as the umbrella, and together with POMAC and NEPOMAC, and with each organisation, we can coordinate our efforts to get the maximum results from our collective efforts. And let me say how appreciative the government and the people of Cyprus are for your efforts. Because I'm standing here and you can say this is your job. Each and every one of you does what you're doing out the goodness of your heart. You give of your time, you give of your money. And that's special. And that's not something that should be overlooked or underestimated. So I extend my thanks and appreciation for everything that you do. And I want you to know that the High Commission and I personally will always be available to exchange views on how we can better coordinate our collective efforts. And Konstantinos, your passion as, I use the word youngster, and my son tells me, don't use the word youngsters. Right? Passion as somebody younger than I, right, in speaking tonight. That passion, if we can replicate, and there is no reason why we can't replicate that passion, to others who are as young as you, we can do a lot. And I have told you, and I've told Christos as well, that I want to work with the youth. You are tomorrow's ambassadors. You are the ambassadors of this community and the ambassadors of justice. So I want to work with each and every one of you and to see how much we can do together, and I think there is a lot we can do together. When preparing for tonight's speech, I asked myself what would be most useful for all of you to hear. That the flyer indicates Cyprus from independence to present day. Of course, I will touch on the history, but I want to place emphasis on Cyprus of today, its role in the region, and what I would call its transformation to a polythematic foreign policy. There is a saying that geography is destiny, or as real estate agents would say in the United States, location, location, location. Throughout its history, Cyprus has been a prized object of possession for more conquerors than I can count. The late Christopher Hitchens, one of the most ardent supporters of Cyprus, who brought to the attention of the international community the 1974 Turkish invasion and the pawn that Cyprus was in a much larger chess game, remarked in his book, Hostage to History, that throughout time, Cyprus's location has been both a curse and a boon. It is also this rich history that makes up the mosaic that forms Cyprus. It is, of course, the Hellenic influence that has been the backbone of our history and culture right through today. On October 1st, Cyprus celebrated its 59th anniversary as a sovereign, independent state, following British colonial rule, which took over from the Ottoman rule. And you're right, Christos, we have much to celebrate. Much to celebrate. And next year, we will collectively celebrate Cyprus's 60th birthday. And I wish to work with the community to see how we can best showcase Cyprus in the United Kingdom on this important anniversary. What has happened in those 59 years? As I said earlier, it's not my intention to go into the minutiae of historical events. This has been done by many who have spoken from this podium before me, and I'm sure many who will speak after me as well. Upon becoming independent, following the struggle against British colonial rule, the Republic of Cyprus took its rightful place as a member of the United Nations. Additionally, it became a member of the Commonwealth and of the Non-Aligned Movement, an organization that played a crucially important role in the aftermath of the Turkish invasion of 1974, in supporting the Republic of Cyprus in its international efforts to maintain its international recognition in the face of attempts by Turkey and its subordinate local administration in the occupied area to dilute this and to promote a separate entity, particularly after the illegal UDI of the so-called TRNC. I mention the non-aligned movement because though we could no longer be a member following our accession to the European Union in 2004, we have never forgotten our friends and the critically important role it played. It is these relations, particularly with the countries of our region, that we see today taking shape through the creation of mutually beneficial synergies. Touching again on the island's history post-1960, we all know about the severe challenges and restraints imposed upon the Cypriot people in the 1960 Constitution and the appended treaties, in particular the Treaty of Guarantee, which Turkey invoked unlawfully when invading in 1974. It is these experiences that have guided successive Cypriot governments to seek a solution that is functional and one that will stand the test of time. A solution that will not be met by obstacles and cul-de-sacs at every turn. The reality is that the 1960 Constitution proved unworkable. Efforts to amend it were rejected by Turkey and thereafter the Turkish Cypriots in 1963, who then decided to withdraw from the state institutions. The intercommunal fighting that erupted resulted in the establishment of a UN peacekeeping force, UNFICYP, following Security Council Resolution 186 on March 4th, 1964, with the consent of the government of Cyprus. And I mention this last point because Resolution 186 is a cornerstone resolution with regards to the sovereignty and recognition of the Republic of Cyprus, a fact that Ankara and the occupation regime protest on each occasion there is a renewal of UNFICYP. Despite the uneasy tension, the Cypriots, Greek and Turkish alike, continued their lives intermingled and the island progressed until, as we all know, the Turkish invasion of 20 July 1974 that was preceded by the coup instigated by the Greek military junta. It was the coup that Turkey used as a pretext, citing the Treaty of Guarantee and supposedly to restore constitutional order that it invoked to invade. I will merely make 2 points to debunk the Turkish argumentation. Firstly, there are only 2 occasions when force can be used. The first is in self-defense, and this was not applicable. And the second, if it is mandated as a Chapter 7 Security Council resolution. Neither was that the case. I do not believe that I need to tell anyone here what the consequences of the Turkish invasion occupation were, but for the benefit of those who may not be familiar, I will outline the following. Thousands died, Over 1,600 were reported missing to the International Red Cross Committee. The fate of many is still unknown. 37% of the territory, representing 70% of the economic potential, came under Turkish occupation. 1/3 of the Greek Cypriots became refugees in their own country and remain so. Ankara has brought into the occupied area around 200,000 settlers with a clear aim of changing the demographics of the island. In fact, when coupled with the over 35,000 Turkish occupation troops, the ratio is nearly 3-to-1, bearing in mind that today the Turkish Cypriots in the occupied area number around 85,000. These figures, coupled with a very clear policy of desecration of churches, looting of churches and archaeological sites, changing of names, the ever-decreasing numbers of enclaved Greek Cypriots in the Karpas Peninsula, all point to an unmistakable policy of cleansing the occupied area of its ethnic history and character. We know that under international law, the changing of the demographics of an area under the military control of another country is illegal. Yet this is the policy being implemented by Turkey, which I must say has not received much pushback, if any, by the international community. I have branded about various numbers which I would like to put into a UK context so that we are all fully aware of the magnitude of the issues at hand. If we just refer to the 37% of the territory under occupation, that figure amounts to just under the combined territory of Scotland and Northern Ireland, which form 38%. If we transpose the 200,000 Greek Cypriot refugees, this would be the equivalent of 22 million UK citizens and residents uprooted from their homes. I had a colleague do some research, and this makes for interesting reading. The 22 million would involve residents of over 40 of the largest cities and towns in the United Kingdom. Those figures are important to bear in mind because those figures, I think, when you speak to your UK friends, members of Parliament, might resonate. To put it into a UK context, that is the magnitude of the Turkish invasion. There are those amongst us here who are refugees and want to return to their homes, as is your right. Earlier this week at the Famagusta Association event in the House of Commons, I made the comment that to a Cypriot, and particularly a refugee, to return home is not merely a structure of 4 walls, windows, and a door. It is so much more than that. It is the smells, it is the feel of the earth, the vegetation, the village square, the church, the family, the togetherness, and ultimately roots. It has been my experience that this aspect of the powerful magnet that home has, particularly to someone who's been deprived of returning home, is not fully understood or recognized. I will not dwell on the various efforts to find a solution of the Cyprus problem, save to say that there is an established and accepted framework as found in the 1977-1979 high-level agreements and successive UN Security Council resolutions, namely a bizonal, bicommunal federation with a single sovereignty, single citizenship, single international personality with political equality as defined by the United Nations, in essence, effective participation and not numerical equality. A solution that respects and safeguards the human rights and fundamental freedoms of all Cypriots. A solution that must be in line with and fully respect the values and principles of the European Union and the acquis communautaire, that body of laws, rules and regulations that member states must abide by. So where are we today? Allow me to recall elements of President Anastasiadis' recent address to the UN General Assembly. The President said what I believe to be a fundamental point, that the unacceptable status quo created by an illegal invasion must end. He added his full dedication to resuming the process from where it stopped at Crans-Montana in 2017. Furthermore, following discussions with the Secretary General for an agreed basis for the resumption of negotiations, there is an understanding by himself and Mr. Akinci that the relevant terms of reference comprise the following: the joint declaration of 11 February 2014, the convergences achieved that had led to the holding of the Cyprus Conference at Crans-Montana, and the six-point framework of the UN Secretary-General on security and guarantees, troops, effective participation, territorial adjustments, property, and equitable treatment, as presented at Crans-Montana on June 30th, 2017. Our hope is that soon we will hear whether a meeting involving the Secretary-General, President Anastasiadis and Mr. Akinci will take place, that hopefully will mark the resumption of the process. Regrettably, though, recent actions by Turkey, and here I mention their illegal drilling activities in the exclusive economic zone of the Republic of Cyprus, and the recent threats by Turkish officials, including Foreign Minister Çavuşoğlu, to open the fenced area of Varosha, severely undermine the objective of creating a climate conducive to the resumption of negotiations. In fact, gunboat diplomacy, blackmail tactics, and attempts to force us to negotiate under duress will not work. I think the President was abundantly clear on this point in his remarks to the community here in London en route to New York last month for the General Assembly. So we shall wait and see whether Turkey will recalibrate its negative posture. Hope alone, though, is not enough. It is at times such as these where the international community, both individually and collectively, must step up to the plate. I am a firm believer that words do matter, and until such times as words such as condemn, occupation, occupied area, etc., start becoming part of the nomenclature, coupled with more robust reactions, Turkey will just continue doing what Turkey does. I've often asked myself the question, why is so little said and written about the Cyprus problem or the reaction of the international community? After all, it is a case of illegal invasion, of a continuing occupation and violation of human rights. Shouldn't that be enough? An international problem where international law is being flouted on a daily basis. Surely this should matter. I think we all recall the reaction of the international community following the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait, a very different response. In Cyprus, thankfully, we do not have shootings or fatalities. However, with 45 years gone, people look at the Cyprus problem, and when juxtaposed with the situation in Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya, to name a few, they say, well, there may not be a solution, but there is quiet. What happens is that this leads many in the international community, as well as the media, to on occasions forget that Cyprus remains under illegal occupation. This is what we are collectively called upon to address, to bring our issue back on the front burner of ordinary people's consciousness, as well as that of elected officials, in order to apply the pressure on Turkey that is needed to move the needle forward. So we're fighting on two fronts. The first being to use all those diplomatic and political tools that we have in order to highlight the actions of Turkey, and secondly, to gain traction towards action and measures that could have a consequence. Here, allow me to highlight the response of the European Union in relation to Turkey's illegal activities in the exclusive economic zone of Cyprus. The EU made its position clear through repeated Foreign Affairs and European Affairs Councils, most recently earlier this month. In referring to Turkey's illegal drilling activities in the Eastern Mediterranean, and I quote, "The Council reaffirms its full solidarity with Cyprus regarding its respect of its sovereignty and sovereign rights in accordance with international law." It goes on to say that the Council agrees that a framework regime of restrictive measures targeting natural and legal persons responsible for or involved in the illegal drilling activity of hydrocarbons is put in place. This is not an inconsequential decision, and one endorsed by the EU leaders on the 18th of October. Sanctions, of course, are not an end in themselves, but I believe the decision telegraphs the seriousness of the issue. I would note also the public statements of UK officials in support of Cyprus's sovereign rights and sovereignty in its EEZ, and calling on Turkey not to drill in these areas, most recently repeated by the Minister of State for Europe and the Americas, Christopher Pincher, 2 evenings ago at the gathering that the Famagusta Association arranged in the House of Parliament. The United States too has been clear in its message, firstly through its support of the energy cooperation between Cyprus, Greece and Israel, as seen by the presence of Secretary of State Pompeo at the Trilateral Summit in Israel earlier this year, and most recently when the Secretary of State is quoted as saying, "We have told the Turks that illegal drillings are unacceptable." There are others that have been equally clear on the illegality of Turkey's actions: Greece, Italy, France, Egypt, to name a few. The issue is, how can we transpose these words into actions? How can we get Turkey to stop its illegality in our exclusive economic zone? The government has extended to Turkey the opportunity to sit and negotiate delimitation of the exclusive economic zone involving Turkey and Cyprus in line with international law and the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. Turkey has rejected this. There is no doubt that the discovery of hydrocarbons in the Eastern Mediterranean within the EEZ of Cyprus, Israel and Egypt is a vitally important development. The discoveries have put Cyprus on the energy map, and the potential that these discoveries bring not only augur well for Cyprus, but also for the European Union in its policy of diversification of energy sources. Consequently, this pattern of Turkey's behaviour concerns us all, since it is part of a wider strategy of dominating the Eastern Mediterranean region by attempting to create grey zones. Its policy is also a direct threat to wider stability and to the European Union's strategic interests, and dare I say those of the UK as well. And energy brings me to the next part of my speech, the Cyprus of today and its foreign policy reorientation. Earlier, I had mentioned the recalibration of our foreign policy to that of a multifaceted, polythematic foreign policy. It is this foreign policy vision for Cyprus, but also for the region itself, that I would like to refer and to show how it is gaining attention and momentum. Of course, it was not too long ago that Cyprus was receiving attention for the wrong reasons, namely the crisis of 2013 and the unprecedented bail-in on bank accounts set as a condition for a €10 billion bailout agreement. Today, 6 years on, the headlines have reversed, with Cyprus being considered by others as a success story. The economy is reviving. It is achieving stable growth, and a more positive climate is apparent. Real GDP growth was 3.8 in 2018. Inflation and unemployment is down, and Cyprus has retrieved its credit worthiness. In fact, in April this year, a 30-year bond issue was more than 12 times oversubscribed, underlining Cyprus's credibility in the eyes of international investors. This has happened because of the collective effort of all, but especially the support and determination of the Cypriot people who, just as in 1974, once again showed remarkable resilience. The recovery has allowed us also to focus on our outreach in the foreign policy sphere. And allow me to highlight 3 pillars. The first pillar, enhancement and expansion of Cyprus's relations with countries of our immediate region, the Middle East and the Gulf. And this is where the saying, geography is destiny, fits. Our unique geographical position as the European Union's lighthouse in the Eastern Mediterranean lies at the heart of this first pillar, and our efforts to turn our location into a blessing that allows us to play an important role in creating synergies and avenues of cooperation yielding tangible results. And let me say that if you had asked me a few years ago that all the countries of the Gulf, for example, excluding at the moment Bahrain, have an embassy in Cyprus, I would have said that's not possible. Saudi Arabia, earlier this year, sent an ambassador to Cyprus. Cyprus, too, has ambassadors in all the Gulf countries, except Bahrain. And there's no reason for not having Bahrain. It will happen, but hasn't happened yet. But I just mention that to show that Cyprus is on the radar screen of the countries of the region. Beyond the bilateral benefits of developing our relations, we believe that these relations bring a value added not only for the region and for the countries of the region, but also for the European Union and beyond. After all, our region is in the EU's neighbourhood. We believe that our vision for the Mediterranean is highly relevant, both because of the challenges, but because of the untapped potential. And here I would just mention the migration crisis and the rise of violent extremism. We have on numerous occasions made the case in Brussels that the EU needs to be more fully engaged in the region in order to address the root causes of some of these issues that I mentioned. Syria, Lebanon, the Middle East peace process, to name a few. Of course, energy is another area that amplifies the potential of the region. According to the US Geological Survey estimates, the Eastern Mediterranean region's quantities of natural gas are in the region of 9,700 billion cubic meters. So far, nearly 3,000 billion cubic meters have been discovered in the EEZs of Cyprus, Israel, and Egypt. And I think the presence of energy giants such as ExxonMobil, Total, Eni, Qatar Oil, Noble Energy, and Shell is proof of the potential. Much in the same way that coal and steel became the driver for bringing together countries in Europe after World War II, and as such the forerunner of the then EEC, our view is that hydrocarbons could replicate this on a regional context. It could be that tool that meets the energy needs of the region and sows the seeds for greater stability and promise of peace and security in the region. Here again, Cyprus is deeply involved and has embraced also the Egyptian initiative to establish an Eastern Mediterranean Gas Forum that to date involves Cyprus, Greece, Egypt, Israel, Jordan, and the Palestinians. Let me say a few words about the trilateral cooperation mechanisms that we have established. And there is no doubt that the hydrocarbon discoveries and potential was the trigger to the trilateral cooperation mechanisms that Cyprus began. Having been directly involved in the trilaterals in my previous position as Director of the Middle East and Africa Division, I can say without any reservation that this new dimension to our foreign policy and outreach to the countries of the region is one of the most exciting, tangible, and talked about developments. Together with Greece, we have established trilaterals with Egypt, which earlier this month held the 7th summit. Summit meetings have also been held with Israel and Jordan, and soon we expect the first summits with Lebanon and Palestine. And the decision at summit level to establish in the very near future a permanent secretariat for the trilaterals in Cyprus with the countries involved is, I believe, a clear indication of the real value seen in this endeavour and the important role of Cyprus. It is a journey that has taken a very promising first step to what could develop, when conditions are ripe, into a regional cooperation mechanism. What we have created are innovative cooperation fora that are undoubtedly a most successful addition to our foreign policy footprint. The aim is to create synergies in a broad range of issues, from political to economic cooperation, customs, security, defence, renewable sources of energy, energy security, investment promotion, research and innovation, environmental protection, the diaspora, education, search and rescue, cyber security, culture, tourism. The list goes on. One area that directly relates to the Cypriot community in the United Kingdom is the diaspora cooperation with the Jewish community in the UK. And I think those involved can attest to the positive nature of that cooperation. In brief, the central tenets of the trilaterals are that they are neither exclusionary or exclusive, nor are they directed against any third country, but are an instrument for promoting cooperation based on a positive agenda. And that is something that we emphasize, the positive agenda. By their very nature, there is no one-size-fits-all, but they are molded and evolve in areas where there is a competitive advantage. Similarly, where there is a value added identified, individual trilaterals can be elongated to include a fourth country, as is the case with the EastMed pipeline, involving Greece, Cyprus, Israel, as well as Italy and the European Commission. On the trilateral with Jordan, for example, at our last foreign ministers meeting earlier this year, the Iraqi foreign minister also wanted to be present. So I mention that to see the interest that is shown for these trilaterals. And we're currently discussing with the Gulf countries the creation of such mechanisms following the keen interest that they have shown, with a tailor-made agenda. And believe it or not, the trilaterals have even attracted the attention of Japan. The fact is that there is interest from countries of the EU and the EU itself to see how the trilaterals can be utilised also as part of the European Union's toolbox. This brings me to the second pillar of our refined foreign policy, namely more active involvement of Cyprus within the European Union as part of the polythematic recalibration. Today, Cyprus has a voice, and I would say a respected voice in the European Union, particularly on issues affecting our region. Again, look at our location. We are less than 30 minutes flight time from Beirut, Damascus, Tel Aviv, with Cairo and Amman just a little bit further away. To the countries of the immediate and wider region, Cyprus is seen as a reliable, trustworthy, credible partner and a channel of communication who better understands the intricacies and complexities of the region. I say this not to be or to sound in any way bombastic. We know our size, but we also know our value added. This is our region, and we have an obligation and a responsibility to be active and to be robust. And I have said this as an important addition to the European Union's toolbox. We have come a long way since we acceded in 2004. And one of the honours of serving in the Cypriot Foreign Service and having served as ambassador to Ireland as well during our accession was to be present at the ceremony. What has stuck in my mind, and I share this with you to explain how we see our role also in the European Union and the international community, is that I vividly remember watching the 15 flags of the existing members, the 10 flags of the countries that were to join, and the flag of the European Union as well, being raised simultaneously and at the same speed. In that moment, the EU mosaic could not have been clearer. Here you had 25 countries, big, small, north, south, island, landlocked. As in every mosaic, you have large and you have small pieces. Yet every piece is unique, but each piece is also an integral part of the overall mosaic. That is Cyprus. Yes, maybe a small piece, but an integral part of the overall EU mosaic, but also the international mosaic. The third pillar in our foreign policy relates to the strengthening of the relations with the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, as well as with key players such as Japan and India. In this regard, we have very recently opened in Tokyo the first Cypriot embassy. And Japan last year too opened a resident embassy in Nicosia. As regards the 5 permanent members, we've worked to build relationships and cooperation beyond just the Cyprus problem. Allow me to say that Cyprus has always been a keen multilateralist, putting faith in multilateral institutions, first and foremost the UN. When one looks at the Cyprus problem and the fact that Turkey continuously questions our right to exist as a sovereign state, coupled with its efforts to elevate the occupation regime, what recourse do we have? our sword and our shield, is the support of the international community. It is those UN Security Council resolutions that safeguard the sovereignty and international personality of the Republic of Cyprus. It is those resolutions that have condemned the UDI. And despite Turkey's efforts, despite Turkey's outreach, despite its size and power, it is only Turkey that has recognized the so-called TRNC. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been over 35 years since I began working as a young consul for Cyprus in New York. Much has changed internationally and much has changed in Cyprus since it gained its independence in 1960. From an economic perspective, since independence, it has gone through various transformations, from an exporter of minerals and agricultural products in the early 60s to 1973, to an exporter of manufactured goods from the late 1970s to the early 1980s, to transforming into an international tourist business and services centre since the 1980s and 1990s. Today, our economy is built mainly on the services sector, including tourism, financial services, and real estate, accounting for over 80% of our total GDP and employment. It joined the EU in 2004. It adopted the euro as its national currency in 2008 and was listed as one of the 31 advanced economies in the world in 2016. It has discovered hydrocarbons. It has endured an invasion and occupation in 1974 and a financial and social tsunami in 2013. But it is resilient and will remain so. Today, Cyprus is seen as a purveyor of security and stability in a vitally important yet volatile region, and not a consumer of stability. It is others who are responsible for that, and in our case, Turkey. I would go further and say that Cyprus today is an essential part of the emerging security architecture in the Eastern Mediterranean region. I believe you will all agree with me that to discuss the potential of the Eastern Mediterranean and Cyprus's role without referring to the Cyprus problem would be painting an incomplete picture. A viable and functional solution would not only amplify Cyprus's bridging capacity, but would also mark a major realignment in furthering peace and stability in the region. This is a win-win for all. Friends, I have sought to outline in broad brushstrokes the path that the foreign policy of Cyprus is charting. The recalibrating of the kaleidoscope to put into sharper focus the potential for synergies in our region and the important contribution to our goal of promoting peace, stability, and security. I end where I started by saying that your continuous efforts as a vitally important community in the United Kingdom is a crucial element in our overall efforts to find a just, lasting, and functional solution that reunites the island and its people and ends the illegal Turkish occupation. Before ending, and you may have noticed, I have not once mentioned the word Brexit. And I will only do so in this context that could possibly be applicable to some of you, and I did not wish to miss this opportunity to raise it. I want to underline to those of you who are registered only as Cypriot citizens, those that do not have the British nationality, that you need to arrange your settlement status in the United Kingdom as soon as possible, and in any case before the end of next year. This has to be done also by those that have an indefinite leave to remain in the UK. This is a mandatory process for all EU citizens. More than 6,000 of our Cypriot compatriots have already applied to the Home Office. The process can only be done electronically through the dedicated EU settlement scheme application on the website of the Home Office. And you can find more information on that website or at our website, or contact the Consulate General of the High Commission either by email or by phone. In ending, thank you again for inviting me to speak to you and for your genuine warmth and support that you have shown to me and my wife Karine since we have arrived. It is truly an honour to be serving this community, and I look forward to serving it with you. God bless, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Ευχαριστούμε πολύ τον ύπατο μας Αρμοστή για τις πολύ χρήσιμες πληροφορίες και τα εφόδια που μας έδωσε απόψε, για την πολύ ενημερωτική και αναλυτική του ομιλία. Η μικρή μας, η μη κατεχόμενη πατρίδα μας έχει στείλει ένα υπεράξιο εκπρόσωπο στο διπλωματικό κέντρο του Λονδίνου, ένα ακούραστο μαχητή και προασπιστή των δικαίων του κυπριακού λαού στα κέντρα αποφάσεων του Ηνωμένου Βασιλείου. Τον ευχαριστούμε θερμά. Όλοι θα συμπαρασταθούμε και θα ενισχύσουμε το έργο του. Θα ενώσουμε τις δυνάμεις μας με τις δικές του δυνάμεις. Με τη δική του βοήθεια και καθοδήγηση, ο αγώνας όλων μας για τον τερματισμό της τουρκικής κατοχής, της κατάργησης των εγκληματικών εγγυήσεων και των επεμβατικών δικαιωμάτων της Τουρκίας συνεχίζονται. Όλοι μαζί, ενωμένοι στον κοινό αγώνα για την επανένωση της Κύπρου και του λαού της. Σας ευχαριστούμε. Θα ήθελα να εκφράσω επίσης ένα μεγάλο ευχαριστώ στους χορηγούς επικοινωνίας, οι οποίοι προβάλλουν για δεκαετίες τις εκδηλώσεις της Αδελφότητος και μας φέρνουν σε επαφή με τα μέλη μας και με όλη την παροικία μας. Ευχαριστούμε ειδικά το Hellenic TV και τον ακούραστο Γιώργο Λίγκο, ο οποίος μας συντροφεύει σε όλες μας τις εκδηλώσεις. Γιώργο, σε ευχαριστούμε. Ευχαριστούμε επίσης τις εφημερίδες Ελευθερία, Παροικιακή και Πολίτη στην Κύπρο, όπως και το LGR και το Κυπέ στην Κύπρο. Ακολουθεί μια μικρή δεξίωση και παρακαλώ μπορείτε να έρθετε να μιλήσετε στον ύπατον Αρμοστή στη δεξίωση.